Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are going to talk about things that scared me, especially as a child. I want to refer to around here in Appalachia, in the mountains of Appalachia, along the Virginia, Kentucky side, West Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, that streak of mountains. There's a lot of tales of the unknown in the area. In North Carolina, there's the Brown Mountain Lights. A lot of tales of ghost lights. The sighting of the Mothman in West Virginia. That also leads with some native stories with Cornstalk, the Indian chief who died in a battle in West Virginia. What is modern day West Virginia? Point Pleasant. But there's a lot of tales in this area of what is unexplained. And one of the things you'll often hear told is what's known as jack tales. Jack tales are these stories passed down. And you usually think of Appalachia, but apparently they're also related to Cornish and English hero legends, which Cornish um, would be like Cornwall, which would be a lot of Welsh. So it's perhaps tales that survived travel across the ocean and helped develop here. Many of them are written down into book form. But yeah, um, but when I was young, we would have library time, and our librarian loved turning the lights down low and playing a record of Jack Tales. And there's two that stuck in my mind because they scared me as a child. One was called Tellybone. Um, and apparently it's also known as the Telly Poe. It can also be called the Tail, the Tally-Po, Tailbones, Tailbones. They've got a lot of alternative names to it, but it all refers to the same thing. And the idea is that it's supposed to be a creature about the size of a dog. Um, and depending on the native culture of the storyteller, the Tailbone is said to have either yellow or red eyes. It also has pointed ears and a long tail. In some versions of the folk tale, the Tailbone is also said to have tufted ears, similar to that of a bobcat. The creature is covered in black or brown, dark brown fur, and it appears only during the night. It is even harder to see. And it only uses its sharp claws to attack, suggesting that it is merely a powerful animal and not a demon or spirit. While probably not intelligent, the legends go that the Telebone can speak. And in the stories, it usually demands the return of its tail. The actual phrase varies from version to version, but it always is repeated several times. And the story is almost always set at night in a heavily wooded rural area. Geographically, the setting is accepted to be somewhat in the American South. The events could feasibly occur at any time period, given the isolation and atmosphere of the tale. The main events occur in a dilapidated log cabin deep in the woods where a hermit and his 3 dogs live. But yeah, the idea of the tale is that the old man is hungry. It's being a thin winter, and he wants something good to eat. And so he encounters this creature, but in the encounter with it, he chops off its tail, and being hungry, he tosses it into a pot of beans and cooks it up to eat. And so he eats the beans with the tail. But later that night, he could hear rustling in the leaves. And then moments later, clawing at the side of the cabin. Scritch, scritch, scritch. And the man is scared because, as we've mentioned, it's so dark. And he calls out, "Who's there? Go away!" And he goes, "Tailybone." taily bone. I want my taily bone. And the man is scared. And so he calls out real loud. I can't remember all three dogs' names, but I know it's something, Fido, Calico. Go get that thing. And you hear the dogs barking and chases the thing out into the woods. So the man is able to breathe a sigh of relief. But it isn't but a couple hours later, he starts hearing it again. Screech, screech, screech. Taily bone, taily bone. I want my taily bone. And so the man is still scared. He's like, and then he calls out again, Fido, Calico, go get that thing. And again, the dogs chase it off. But there's only two dogs at this point. And they chase it down out into the woods till you can't hear anything anymore. Well, you only hear one of the dogs come back. And it sits outside on the porch. And it isn't but hours later when you hear it again. Screech, screech. Taily bone, taily bone. I want my taily bone. And the man calls out once more, Calico, go get that thing. And it chases the thing out into the woods until you hear no more barking, no more nothing. He doesn't hear any more dogs come back, though. But he hears no sound. But he knows it's starting to slowly get into the twilight hours. You start to see that slow growth of light. And he thinks, I've almost made it through the night. And then he hears it on his roof. Scritch, scritch. Taily bone, taily bone. I want my taily bone. The thing comes down the chimney. It kills the old man. And he goes, I got my taily bone. But yeah, that's how that tale usually went. It is much better told. I'm just telling you a synopsis of what I remember. And then the other one is called Spearfinger, which actually is a Cherokee legend. And the idea is one of the fingers on her right hand was abnormally long and sharp. And her skin was so tough. It was almost like stone. But they believe, if I remember right, they believe she was like a witch. She could change her form. Um, but yeah, in that right hand with the spear finger was supposed to be the only real weak spot on her. But being made of stone, she almost sounded like thunder when she walked and crushed rocks into the ground when she stepped on them. Her voice echoed down the mountains to the Cherokee villages and scared the birds of the forest away, which the people saw as a warning sign. Um, but yeah, let's see what else it says. Besides a spear for a finger, she shapeshifts. Yeah, because that's the thing I remember they talking about. She shapeshifts into family members of her child victims. Because one of the things I remember is that she eats livers, people's livers. That's why her finger was so long and sharp. But she was able to shapeshift into the family members of her victims. And I remember in one particular part of the story, it talked about her shapeshifting into um, a family member of this girl and talking to her. The girl even laid in her lap and she talked to the girl and everything while looking like a family member. And as the girl's laying there, she just stuck in her and ate the liver. But yeah, she's made of stone. Arrows cannot pierce her skin. You gotta remember, the only real spot that can hit her is in that hand where the spear finger is. Um, but yeah, if I remember right, they bury her or something is how they defeat her. In the legend here, Death of Spearfinger, the Cherokee called a great council, including Balmontley, Tinase, Setigo, and Chota towns, which were haunted by the liver eater. The medicine man, Madawahi, or Adawahi, explained the Spearfinger's deception and how to attract her. He knew about her finger because they saw her dancing on ledges of Sana Gilagi. They just did not know how to kill her. But the medicine man said they might get lucky. Following the advice of the medicine man, the people set a trap for Spearfinger by digging a pit and covering it with brush. They made a fire with green saplings, which made a vast amount of smoke rise in the air. Spearfinger saw the smoke from the Chilhowie Mountain and ran to the village, crushing the ground as she walked. She approached, hiding her hand with a blanket. When they saw her as an old woman, the hunter hesitated, thinking she was one of their own or from a neighboring village. She called to them for help as she walked, but the medicine man knew her trick. He threw his spear first, which broke into pieces when it hit her. The rest of the hunters began to attack, seeing through her disguise. Her skin deflected the arrows. Spearfinger revealed her covered hand, ran towards the men, and fell into their pit. She was unharmed, though, by the stakes, and swatted the arrows as they were irksome gnats. When she fell into the pit, she slashed her finger in every direction, trying to catch someone, and taunted them with her song about eating livers. Birds flew down from the sky as celestial beings to aid the Cherokee. A bird called Utsagi, a titmouse, flew to the hunting party and sang un un. This sounded like unahu, which means heart. So they aimed for her chest. After the arrows failed to kill her, they caught and cut off the tongue of the titmouse. Ever since then, the people see its short tongue and know it's a liar. It was not that the bird lied on purpose, but that he simply did not was not specific enough. After that, the titmouse flew into the sky, returning to the upper world. It would never return. Then a chickadee, Seekly, finally came and landed on her right hand, the one with the spear, and the hunters viewed that as an omen to shoot, for the hand she kept double-fisted. She became even more upset and scared at this, and hitting her where the wrist and right hand joined, or some say where the spear finger joined the wrist, they severed her heart. She sank to the ground, and her finger twitched and was still. The curse of Spearfinger, the liver eater, ended. Since the chickadee's help, the bird is known as the truth teller and taken as a sign when perching near a home that the man away will make it home safely. Despite her death, Cherokee storytellers continued to tell the legend of Spearfinger and point out the place where her stone structure fell down. But yeah, these were the two stories that stuck in my mind. And even as a young child, it scared me. You know, like I was saying, this is when I'm in elementary school, so grades K through 6. But yeah, I remember hearing those two stories, and they wouldn't go away from my mind. I kept thinking of them. I'm like, oh Lord, oh Lord. And the thoughts of it just scared me so much. But yeah, I'll go ahead and list some of the information in the description below. But that'll be it for now. I just wanted to talk about some of these things that made me frightened as a child. Have you ever heard stories like these? But as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.